Hello, folks. Charlie Gipple here, the owner of CG Financial Group, your independent marketing organization for annuities, life insurance, and long-term care. And yes, I have my trusty whiteboard here today because we're going to talk about this. When a consumer comes to you and says, hey, I have $500,000, I have $500,000, I'm 60 years old today, I want to retire 5 years from now when I'm 65 years of age, how much can I take from my portfolio each year in retirement? So here I have $500,000, 500K, and I want to retire 5 years from now at age 65. Hopefully that 500 has grown to something, well, more than 500. How much is it that I can take from my portfolio? Because I need to know from a budgeting standpoint. I need to know if I can retire 5 years from now. Mr. Agent, Mrs. Agent, how much is it that I can take at that point in time so that I do not run out of money by the time I pass away at age 90, 92, 85, 88? Do you know the answer to that question? I'll tell you, many of the financial professionals that I've worked with over the years can't really answer that question, right? So what do you have? You have the topic of conversation today, which is Monte Carlo simulations. What Monte Carlo analysis, what Monte Carlo simulations do is they allow you to answer that question. You have this amount today. You want to start withdrawing X amount at that point in the future. What is the probability that you will still have money by the time that you pass away? Because that's what is called a success. That's what's called a successful retirement, right? To have money after you pass away, right? So there are a couple things that Monte Carlo analysis can solve for. One is, hey, I want to take out $20,000 per year, adjusted for inflation each year at retirement. What is my success? What is the probability that I won't run out of money? That's one way of doing it. Another way that Monte Carlo simulations can work is, hey, if we want to be like 80% or 90% sure that we will not run out of money, what is that dollar amount that we can withdraw at retirement? And then the system will come up with a dollar amount that is based off of how the client's current portfolio is allocated. Because a Monte Carlo analysis is going to be different if you have 100% stocks than what it would be if you have 100% bonds. Then you get into the mixtures and things like that. Here's something that's cool before I get into kind of a little more of a technical definition or a technical display of what Monte Carlo analysis is. Many times, if you add some sort of a guaranteed lifetime income stream to this Monte Carlo analysis, so blend in some annuities, for example, you find that what was, say, at a $20,000 per year level, you see that increase within the software by just clicking a button to add, say, $100,000 of annuities into it. Instead, so you're looking at 100,000 annuities, $400,000 wherever it was before. That might give you, it does give you many times a higher income level than just what the, say, stock and bond portfolio might give you, right? So here's what Monte Carlo analysis does. Let's say the client comes to us and they say, hey, we have $500,000 today at age 60. At age 65, we hope our $500,000 grows, right? And I'm oversimplifying this. Well, at that point in time, if I take out $20,000 per year, what is our probability? Behind the scenes, the Monte Carlo simulation randomly or stochastically. How do you like that? Stochastically. Yes, that means basically random in statistics. 5,000 or 10,000, some systems use 10,000 different simulations or 10,000 different samples. Let's say 5,000 because that's what our software does. Well, it was a down market. It was a rough market based off of how the client is allocated. That's a negative. That is a failure, right? Well, that's 1 out of 5,000. We have 4,999 to go. Well, here's another random scenario. Boom, we had money on the day that we passed away. That's a success right there. So far, we have one that failed right here, one that succeeded. That is a 50% probability. That is a 50% confidence level. You do this another 4,998 times, and what do you have? Hopefully, you have more of those lines to the right-hand side than what you have on the left-hand side. But if you have 4,000 lines on the right-hand side over here and 1,000 lines right there, and the client never sees this. This is the calculation going on behind the scenes with Monte Carlo simulations. I'm letting you know how how that pie is made, so to speak. Overly simplified, I would submit. But if you had 80% of these lines to the right and, well, 20% to the left, what does that mean? It means we are 80% confident, Mrs. Client, 80% confident that you can take out 20,000 adjusted upwards for inflation each year at retirement. Do you have the ability to give that client their number or an estimate of their number? Because we just did here in this example. There's another way to solve for this. Hey, I personally, me, Charlie, I like to target 90% success, right? Yes, I could target 100% success, which pretty much means it's like all annuities, right? Or hugely conservative. So yes, we can get to 100%, but to me, that's just kind of unrealistic. But I like to target, say, around 90%. So another way to solve for this is at a 90% success rate, what is the dollar amount that our client can take in retirement income? Because it's important that our client today, age 60, understands how much it is so that they can budget, so they have an idea of how much, well, they'll possibly be living off of in retirement so that they can make plans to delay retirement. Maybe they're good, maybe take retirement early. Well, if we want 90% of these lines to be to the right versus 80%, what does that mean? It means we plug that into our Monte Carlo analysis. And the Monte Carlo analysis is going to say, yeah, at the 90th percentile, so to speak, you, Mrs. Client, may only be able to take out $18,000 per year. But here is what we can do with Monte Carlo simulations if you have the right software. What we can do is we could say, okay, so this is the status quo right here, right? $18,000 per year. What happens if we took, say, $100,000 from this $500,000 and built in a guaranteed lifetime income stream with that $100,000? What does that do overall? And remember, this is inflation adjusted. Our software is actually tax adjusted. I don't care what your gross income is. I care what your net income is, right? But what you see here is that $18,000 by us taking out $100,000 and maybe putting into an annuity, that can increase. Or said another way, your $18,000, instead of increasing, the percentage of success, the probability of success can increase by incorporating annuities into this client's portfolio. That is what Monte Carlo analysis is. And that, folks, by the way, these 2.3% rules of thumb, these 4% rules of thumb, the 4% wasn't using Monte Carlo simulations, but the updated rules, what established those rules? It was Monte Carlo analysis that many of those practitioners or many of those professors, so to speak, utilized to come up with those rules. Here's one last thing, and I'm going to let you guys go. The 4% rule, it's been updated a lot, right? It's dropped. Why is that? Because some of the studies will say, based off Monte Carlo analysis, today when we plug in the 4% rule, so the client's $500,000 at retirement, let's say, that's $20,000 per year. What we have found is many of those studies, there was like a 48% chance of failure, right? If I remember right, 48% chance, which means 48% of those lines died before the client passed away. So thus what you had was them updating that to, no, not $20,000, but maybe only $10,000, maybe only 2%. And that brings us up to where 90% of those lines are to the right. That's a lot of stuff, very fast, but I hope this helps, folks.